The effect of brief mindfulness exercises on momentary impulsivity. The act of choosing is a fairly predictable concept in humans and animals when the choice only differs on one dimension. However, when a second dimension is added to the paradigm, humans begin to show impulsive behavior. Impulsivity has been defined as a preference for a smaller immediate reward over a larger delayed reward. Delayed discounting. Impulsivity is frequently measured using a delayed discounting questionnaire that provides a hypothetical choice between various monetary values and delays. Impulsivity is measured at the switch point, the point at which the person chooses the smaller, sooner value, discounting the larger, delayed value. The impulsivity demonstrated in these hypothetical choices have been correlated with actual money choices, as well as predictors of impulsivity in gambling choice, drug use, and food choices. But is impulsivity a trait or is it flexible? There is research to suggest that impulsivity may not strictly be a trait of the individuals, but that the context may also influence the individual's impulsivity. Dixon, Jacobs, and Sanders, 2006, discovered pathological gamblers discounted sooner when in a gambling context compared to a neutral community setting. Dixon and Holton, 2009, successfully altered discounting patterns of pathological gamblers by training better than and worse than to contextual cues. So this shows that impulsivity may be flexible, and this is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness has evolved over the years from a Buddhist practice established around the concept of mental and spiritual phenomena that included experiential path to understanding and behavior change. Bishop et al. Operationally defined mindfulness as any method that increases attention to the present moment and evokes an attitude of acceptance. Mindfulness practices put emphasis on thoughts, urges, and emotions as being experiences that come and go from moment to moment. Mindfulness as a component of acceptance and commitment therapy has proven to be an effective approach to increasing individuals' present moment awareness and acceptance in many dynamics, including food choice, alcohol use, and gambling. Spillman, Belisle, Gunderson, and Dixon in Press examined the effects of brief mindfulness training on momentary impulsivity. In this experiment, they had the experimental group watch a 9-minute video of mindfulness, while the control group watched a pop music video. During post-treatment, the individuals in the experimental group had lower discounting curves. Discounted less than the control group. The purpose of the present study is to evaluate the effects of engaging in brief mindfulness exercises on momentary impulsivity using hypothetical money choices. There were 5 participants in this study, 2 males and 3 females. 3 were graduate students, all of the age 23, while the other 2 participants were direct care staff at a local brain injury rehabilitation facility, aged 29 and 58. The setting was a conference room with a large table and 10 chairs. Each participant was scheduled one at a time. So during the setting, there was only the participant and the experimenter. The time varied for each participant based on how quickly they answered the questions to the mindfulness exercises and the amount of questionnaires needed to obtain stability. Response measurements used. Delayed discounting questionnaire was used. A printed survey that showed a choice of an immediate monetary value and a fixed delayed value. The immediate monetary values used were from $1,000 to $1. They started at $1,000 and went down by $50 until they got to $100, where it went 75, 50, 25, 15, 10, 5, and 1. The fixed delays remained at 1,000 throughout the questionnaire. The delays used were 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 months, and 1 year. Area under the curve was used to quantify the individual's choice between the larger later amount and the smaller sooner amount. These values were between 1 and 0. Materials used. 3 mindfulness exercises were used during the treatment phase. The mindfulness exercises came from Act for Children with Autism and Emotional Changes by Dixon, 2004. An example of one of these mindfulness exercises was, when we become mindful, we are not spacing out or being mellow or meditating. Instead, we are supposed to be more aware of every sensation our body and mind is experiencing. Getting our minds to see and feel sensation seems to make those sensations better if they are good things, and not that big of a deal when they are bad things. The participant was then asked to actually engage in a mindfulness exercise. For this particular example, they were asked to take off a shoe and sit on it, and then write down how that felt. Then the second part was to sit on that shoe for 5 minutes and then say how that felt. A multiple baseline across participants was used for this experiment. The AUC values were used for the individual data points of the discounting questionnaires for each participant. After consent was obtained, baseline measures for the AUCs was taken through the questionnaires. Then mindfulness exercises were completed, followed by post-treatment delay discounting questionnaires. The results. Area under the curve was calculated and graphed. Results were mixed across participants, with 2 increasing AUC values post-treatment, 2 remaining about the same, and 1 decreasing. On the graph, on the x-axis are the sessions, and the y-axis is the area under the curve values. Participant 1 decreased during post-treatment. Participants 2 and 5 remained about the same, while participants 3 and 4 slightly increased during post-treatment from baseline. The purpose of the study was to evaluate the effect participating in mindfulness exercises may have on impulsivity. Although the current study failed to show a clear relationship between mindfulness and impulsivity, several studies in the past have resulted in significant differences. Some limitations of this study were that it was a very small sample size and very little diversity within that. All data was collected at the end of the month, right before payday. This could have affected discounting curves because people are likely to spend money differently at the beginning of the month versus the end of the month. No validity checks were done to ensure mindfulness exercises were being run properly. Although they were read from the examples from the book, affect and speed at which they're read may affect how much people got from them. And all mindfulness exercises were run in a single session. Future research should look at obtaining a larger and more diverse population or sample. Examining delayed discounting curves throughout the pay period may be an interesting way to go with the research, and running more mindfulness sessions or having them more spread out. Future research could also use exercises from the book that focus on different components of ACT, maybe like values. In conclusion, the present study obtained mixed results on the effect of brief mindfulness exercises on impulsivity. But it raised many questions that, if answered, could extend previous literature. Thank you for your time.